I'm sure many of you will have heard the phrase, "a bad workman blames his tools." The phrase means that somebody who has created something poorly or of low craftsmanship is liable to blame the circumstances upon which they were created, instead of admitting fault and acknowledging their own poor work ethic or skills. For example, a school child found to have produced poor homework and who blames it on the pen he used to write it or the desk that he wrote on may be reprimanded by his teacher and accused of being a bad workman who blames his tools. Reprimanded being a term which here means told that your homework is a disaster and you should feel ashamed. And while this may be true, anyone who's ever created anything will tell you that poor tools are a very legitimate concern, and far from the only one. The aforementioned schoolchild, for example, may have had to write his homework with a stick of celery dunked in Marmite in lieu of a pen, or may have had to write it on a desk, roiling in the middle of the ocean aboard a stormy sea. He may even have had to write it in a state of extreme emotional distress, such as a job interview, funeral, or house viewing. And sometimes the stakes of one's workmanship are altogether higher than homework. Charlotte and Victor Deshayes lived painful and miserable lives, but they were not poor workmen blaming their tools. Charlotte and Victor were and remain to be victims of abuse, neglect, and hatred. My name is the Law Guy, and it is my solemn responsibility to chronicle everything I know about the Deshayes Twins. But it is also my responsibility to tell you to look away, and spare yourself any further thoughts of the abuse, neglect, and hatred that befell them. In this episode, it is my task to catalogue the add-ons and tools used by the twins as they ply their trade as killers in the entity's service, but you are under no such obligation to watch it. I will be going over the twins' add-ons both in isolation and in combination with each other, and suggesting playstyles and the occasional perk build to help get the best use out of them. If you're not prepared to follow me on this grisly journey as we explore the tools of the trade used by Charlotte and Victor Deshayes, I strongly advise you to look away and go and view a guide to a more beloved killer instead. The twins are, in more ways than one, a highly unusual killer with lots of special quirks, unique mechanics, and bizarre restrictions that make them totally unlike every other killer in the game. Their add-ons are no less unique. The tools available to the twins are extensive and twist many different aspects of their power to allow you to play in whichever way suits you the best. But the more you play with many of their add-ons, the more you'll realise that several of them are designed oddly. Take Oni for example, a killer with both a very good base kit and a wide variety of strong add-ons. Aside from passive power generation rate and his dogshit ultra rare add-ons, more or less every Oni add-on is worth using to some extent. Even the con rarity ones are decent add-ons that you'll get value out of every game. But you'll notice his good add-ons are pretty much just that, good. His add-ons don't really benefit from each other that much. You don't choose Oni's add-ons because add-on X works with add-on Y in most cases, but just because add-ons X and Y are both just good add-ons. Although I am a fan of running Blood Fury duration with Tearsake Tenagui once in a while for the big slugs. Most killers' add-ons are designed like this, to be solid on their own without much synergy between add-ons. But many of the twins' add-ons are quite different. A lot of them seem to be built to work in tandem with each other. So when I talk about these add-ons, I'll be discussing them primarily as a part of their combinations and add-on pairs that they seem to be designed to fill, because their impact on a game is usually substantially reduced when run on their own. I'll be discussing the twins' add-ons in these clusters and putting them on this vicious furnishing diagram in an attempt to make my conclusions less mystifying. A word which here means abstract, highly subjective, and impossible to decipher for someone watching this video while eating their breakfast. Let's begin our discussion at the bottom of the garbage pile and talk about Sewer Sludge. Not only is this add-on quite terrible on its own, the add-ons it seems designed to work the best with are also pretty poor. Sewer Sludge adds 20% to the time it takes for a survivor to remove Victor when he's attached to them, taking the removal time up from 8 seconds to 10. The only time this add-on comes into play is when a survivor is trying to remove Victor, and honestly, increasing the time it takes to do so is a downside to you. If Victor's attached to someone, you want that person to give Victor back to you as soon as possible, unless you're going to make a stealth play with Charlotte and need the Oblivious, because Victor's your power. If a survivor runs across the map with him and never lets him go, all it does is waste your time, because now you have to play as an M1 killer for half a minute. By dissuading survivors from returning Victor to you, you're actively nerfing yourself by running Sewer Sludge. The only time Sewer Sludge would ever be useful is if you were running some sort of build or add-on combo that really punished survivors for as long as they held Victor. And fortunately there seems to be add-ons that do that, but those add-ons are pretty crap too. Let me introduce you to Baby Teeth, Weighty Rattle and Rusted Needle. All of these add-ons inflict a status effect when Victor is removed from a survivor's back. Baby Teeth hits them with 15 seconds of blindness, Weighty Rattle makes them broken for 20 seconds, and Rusted Needle makes them hemorrhage and bleed twice as much until healed. But the problem with these add-ons is that they only kick in when a survivor has removed Victor, which again punishes survivors for them doing something that you want them to be doing. Maybe if the punishments were more severe, the add-ons might be worth using, but they're really not. Baby Teeth inflicts blindness for 15 seconds. 15 seconds. And that's a whole add-on slot. Half of your available add-on slots to inflict blindness. A relatively useless status effect for only 15 seconds. And again, that's only when a survivor removes Victor, an action that doesn't even happen that much anyway. The benefit is so minuscule, the add-on may as well not exist. Rusted Needle and Weighty Rattle are better, but still pretty crap. Hemorrhage is stronger on Twins than it is on any other killer, because of Victor's love of tracking via bloodstains, so more bleeding means easier tracking. But it's not like you need Hemorrhage to track down bleeding victims, and you can always just bring Sloppy Butcher to save an add-on slot and inflict Mangled at the same time with Charlotte's attacks. And Weighty Rattle inflicting broken is nice, but unless you're already close to the victim with Charlotte, you won't be able to capitalise on those 20 seconds. And again, it's only when they remove Victor. Something that doesn't happen very often, whether you run Sewer Sludge with it or not. Most of the time that Victor attaches, you're either recalling Victor after the survivor runs off with him, or you're chasing someone who's got Victor attached, and you down them with Charlotte before or just as they remove him. Either way, Sewer Sludge and its beneficiary add-ons are almost totally useless. You could run Rusty Needle and Weighty Rattle together to stop them healing and turning off the hemorrhage, but even then the add-ons aren't exactly astonishing. Remember, Weighty Rattle is still only 20 seconds. I'm putting Baby Teeth and Sewer Sludge in the unusable tier, and Rusted Needle and Weighty Rattle in the rather shit tier on the vicious furnishing diagram. But not all of the dedicated combo add-ons are this underwhelming. Let me talk to you about the combination of Stale Biscuit and Ceremonial Candelabrum. Now on the surface, these add-ons are not that good. Stale Biscuit shaves 0.35 seconds off Victor's cooldown time after a pounce, whether that pounce was a successful hit or a miss. These bring Victor's successful hit cooldown to a still agonisingly long 4.65 seconds and his miss cooldown to 2.65 seconds, which are still pretty substantial numbers. Compare this to the effects of similar add-ons on the Demogorgon. Black Heart reduces the cooldown of successful shred hits to 2.55 seconds from 3 seconds, and Muse Guts reduces the cooldown after a missed shred from 2.25 seconds to 2 seconds, in addition to giving you an extra portal. If we look at this by percentages, Muse Guts is slightly better at mitigating miss attacks than Stale Biscuit, with Muse Guts shaving off 14% compared to Stale Biscuit's 12%, on top of Muse Guts giving you an extra portal. And Black Heart shaves 15% off the cooldown on Demogorgon's successful hits, compared to Stale Biscuit taking off a mere 7% of Victor's hit cooldown. Admittedly, Black Heart and Muse Guts are two add-ons and Stale Biscuit is just one, but Muse Guts does give you the extra portal on top. Stale Biscuit, when used on its own, is just quite a low impact add-on when compared to similar recovery add-ons on other killers, especially for landing pouncers more than you're missing them. But that's where Ceremonial Candelabrum comes in. The Candelabrum increases the time it takes for a survivor to kick Victor by 0.15 seconds, taking the kick time to kill Victor up to a full half second. This applies not just during his cooldowns after a pounce, but also when he's idle. But that's not actually important because there's no way on earth that will actually matter when he's idle. But what does matter is its effect when combined with Stale Biscuit when you're trying to chain pounces together without being kicked. When a survivor starts the kick animation but doesn't have time to finish it before Victor's cooldown ends, they are snapped out of the animation regardless of how much progress was on the kick bar. So increased kick time means a survivor has to start the kick earlier to be able to finish it before they're snapped out of the animation. Combine that with Stale Biscuit to make the cooldown shorter between pounces, and the survivor's window to kick you after a hit, and especially a miss, becomes a whole lot shorter. With both these add-ons, the absolute latest a survivor can kick you after a missed pounce before you can attack again is 2.15 seconds after you land. Unless you land right next to them or they use dead hard, there is pretty much no chance they'll be able to pull that off before you can recover and pounce again. With pounce hits, it becomes a little less effective because of the 5-second hit cooldown being so much longer than it needs to be. Sort that out, behaviour, please. But since you can move during that recovery, you can shift yourself away from a survivor who's heading over to kick you, and that might buy you enough time to recover and attack again, or force them to kick so late that it's out of the animation before they can finish it. And because survivors are stupid and don't know anything about the twins or their add-ons, survivors will not respect this combo even if it's blindingly obvious that you have it. This is a build that I really like on the twins because all it does is make you more efficient without messing up your muscle memory or the way you loop with Victor. It oils up the gears without really changing how you play, so it's a nice build to just throw on if you're looking for a solid chase-oriented loadout of twins add-ons. I'd put the Stale Biscuit and the Ceremonial Candelabrum in the quite good tier because when used together, that's what both of them are. They are quite good. Inoffensive, but their power is definitely noticeable. The one problem with the Biscuit Candelabrum combo is that if you're looking for an aggressive, chase-oriented twins add-on loadout, there's an elephant in the room that I've already gone too long without mentioning. Toy Sword. Toy Sword is a really powerful twins add-on, arguably their best. Toy Sword knocks 25% off of your pouncer's charging time, taking it from 1 second to just 0.75 seconds. This is properly quick. Toy Sword lets you prep a pounce at a much shorter notice and hit survivors before they can appropriately react. Anyone who's played much with Flower Bushcart and Huntress, for example, will know how strong something like this is. And Toy Sword reduces Victor's pounce charge time by almost twice as much as the Babushka does. And this is a brown add-on. 3 to a Blood Web. You can run this every game and be absolutely fine. I've got about 200 stocked up. Now, Toy Sword is quite a controversial add-on. A lot of people believe it to be too strong. A lot of people think it should be made base kit and think that twins are too weak without it. But what do I say to that? Yes. I think 0.75 seconds is too short a charge up time for Victor's pounce. But at the same time, I think the base 1 second is a little bit too long. You can't zone with it as well as a killer like, say, Demogorgon or Pyramid Head because you move at 2.4 meters per second while charging it, which is the same as Huntress's speed when winding up. And importantly, Victor can't M1, can't break pallets, and has to respect pallets or he dies, so pounce shouldn't be too clunky to use. He also has to fully charge his pounce up and can't quick fire like a Huntress. I advocate a compromise. I would make Victor's pounce charge up in 0.85 seconds base kit, and change Toy Sword's effect altogether. It would make his base kit pounce feel less reliant on Toy Sword without actually making Toy Sword base kit and making pounce feel too bad to go against. Hell, change Toy Sword to reduce the amount of time that survivors can take Victor hostage for before you can recall him. that would still be a very good add-on that would help Twins players with one of the more common frustrations you can have while playing them, and would allow his base kit pounce to be strong without being too strong. As it stands, Toy Sword is an incredibly powerful add-on, arguably their strongest, and it's so common that you can run one every game if you want to, without really risking it running out. It goes firmly in the staple tier because that is what it is. It is a staple add-on, arguably the staple add-on, that the Twins are not very often seen without. I use it, I think, far more often than not, but more than anything else it just feels good to use, so by all means, if you bring a Toy Sword every game, nobody will blame you. Bloodpoint savvy players will likely appreciate the fact that one of the best add-ons a Twins player can bring is a brown that you can spam on the cheap. But Toy Sword is not their only common add-on worth running. Tiny Fingernail looks low impact on paper, because all it does is shorten the animation of Victor unbinding from Charlotte, but if you play with the add-on, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. How much is it cut off of the animation, I hear you ask? Well, only half of it. Yeah, it's straight up just half the time it takes to deploy Victor, from 1 second to half a second, and that just feels fantastic! Unbinding half a second faster means you're catching up to a survivor after you M1 them with Charlotte half a second earlier, and half a second can be the difference between landing a hit before they get to a pallet, or them getting behind it and forcing you to have to play round it. It's also an add-on that makes geo-looping with Charlotte and Victor substantially easier, by allowing you to unbind mid-chase far more effectively, but more about that on the next episode. Tiny Fingernail is not a game-changing add-on, but it just feels good to use and has an effect that you're happy spending a brown add-on slot for, so I think it belongs firmly in pretty damn great. But if you really want dedicated add-on slot to catch up to survivors quickly, then you can't go wrong with speed add-ons. Madeline's Scarf and Forest Stew increase Victor's movement speed as he scuttles along the ground. Madeline's Scarf adds 10% to a total of 160% speed, and Forest Stew adds 15% for a total of 165% speed. Like Toy Sword, these are the add-ons that everyone knows about. They make Victor a lot better at catching up to survivors and let you loot more effectively, because you can get into position for a pounce faster. It's an add-on you'll never feel bad using and that will always help you. Like Toy Sword, some players will say it's too good or makes Victor unfair, and I'm not sure I'd fully agree with that. What makes speed add-ons unfair isn't speed add-ons themselves, but Toy Sword. The fact that you can position yourself where you need to be and arm your pounce faster means that survivors have a whole lot less time to react to what you're doing and get themselves to safety. There's a reason you never see Twins players running double speed, because Toy Sword is what makes speed add-ons as powerful as they can be, and running multiple speed add-ons together is kind of redundant if that makes sense. 175% isn't that much faster than 165%, and dedicating all your add-on slots to speed seems a little weird when you could put another add-on like Toy Sword, Tiny Fingernail, Silencing Cloth or Cat's Eye to get more bang for your buck. Despite being not quite as good as Toy Sword, Madeline's Scarf and Forest Stew are still two great add-ons that are pretty high impact on their own and firmly deserve their role as staples on the vicious furnishings diagram. I stand by saying that they are marginally overrated, but regardless they are powerful add-ons. And speaking of overrated add-ons, I want to talk about Bloody Black Hood for a moment. I see a lot of Twins players running this add-on, and on paper I get it. It knocks half a second off Charlotte's 3 second switch fatigue, which is really quite nice. But the problem I have with it is that generally when you're switching to Charlotte from Victor, you're not enormously pressed for time. Tiny Fingernail saves you the same amount of time when you're unbinding, which is a way more important time to have cut down because that's the time it takes to catch up to a survivor and charge up a pounce. What Bloody Black Hood does is good, but nothing amazing, and it gives you time in a place you don't really need it. So I'm putting it at the bottom of pretty damn great, because while it is a great thing to have, it's overshadowed by many of their more impactful add-ons. But it does feel amazing to use, so if you want to run one every game, I can't blame you even slightly. But do you know what add-on I would pick if I wanted an add-on that was powerful on its own, interesting, fun, but wasn't too crazy? I'd pick Cat's Eye. One thing to note, Cat's Eye is one of a small set of Twins add-ons that does not do what the current add-on description says. Right now the add-on says this, while the add-on's actual effect is this. It silences Victor's shrieks while his pounce is fully charged, which is a lot more useful than it sounds. Since Victor is small, has no red stain, and does not trigger spine chill, the only way a survivor can see him coming when they're working on generator or healing is either by spotting him or by listening out for his shriek radius, the grunting and snarling he makes when he's close to you. By silencing that with Cat's Eye, you remove one of the two cues that survivor has to determine that he's going to get you, meaning that they have to draw line of sight to him, something that you can also mitigate by pouncing off a ledge, from a bush, or from a blind spot. To realise just how good this can be, think of it from the survivor side. They're working on generator, they hear his shrieking quietly, and then it dies down. You logically think, he came past but he left, and keep working on your generator. And suddenly Victor hits you because Cat's Eye silenced the shrieks. It's an add-on that messes with a survivor's perception of what's going on if they're not paying attention, and is the only add-on that rewards Twins players for going for long-range shots, since the further away you pounce from, the less likely they are to spot Victor. Cat's Eye does require a little bit of playing with it in mind, but it is very good, can get you a ton of free hits if you do play around it, and thoroughly merits its spot in the pretty damn great tier. And speaking of add-ons that don't do what the description says, let's talk about Victor's other shriek radius related add-ons: Spoiled Milk, Madeline's Glove, and Drop of Perfume. All of these have had their wording changed from what the add-on actually does to whatever mangled, poorly translated mess they are now. Whenever these add-ons say, Victor's grunts while charging pounce, what it means is shriek radius. So Spoiled Milk increases Victor's shriek radius by 2 meters, Madeline's Glove increases it by 4 meters, and Drop of Perfume makes anybody inside that shriek radius oblivious to Charlotte's terror radius. These are more add-ons that function well as set pairs. Combining a shriek radius add-on with Drop of Perfume creates a pretty big bubble of obliviousness around Victor, allowing Charlotte to sneak up on survivors who are too close to him and get those all-important free hits. This bubble will be around Victor at all times and will actually get a little bit larger when he attaches to somebody, and you can tell which survivors are oblivious because Victor will pick them up on Killer Instinct. Madeline's Glove and Spoiled Milk are both decent add-ons on their own, since increasing the range of Victor's Killer Instinct detection is never a bad thing to have. But combining one with Drop of Perfume is really quite nasty on indoor maps, or any map with limited sightlines, like Baden Preschool or Torment Creek. This is also very powerful on multi-floor maps and structures like the game, the Baden Preschool buildings, and the Raccoon City police station. Oh, that map is getting its own video, because I have a lot to say about it. Remember, Victor's shriek radius goes through floors. If there's a drop down or a flight of stairs that you can catch survivors off guard with a hit from Charlotte before they've even seen either of you. These add-ons are pretty near the top of what Twins are capable of running, but crucially, they don't really do anything in the chase, and they're a little map dependent. So I put them in pretty damn great because extra shriek radius is never something to say no to, and throwing Oblivious into the mix is very powerful and something a lot of survivors will not expect. But there is one serious issue with Drop of Perfume, and by extension Spoiled Milk and Madeline's Glove. If you want to play stealthy with the Twins, why not just run this instead? Silencing Glove is in contention for the best Twins add-on in the game, and I think in a blind lobby where you don't know what you're going up against, it is their best add-on. Silencing Cloth makes Charlotte undetectable for 20 seconds whenever control is switched from Victor to her. By any means. If you attach and are switched back, feel kicked after a pounce. If you manually swap back from Victor to Charlotte, all of these will trigger Silencing Cloth and make Charlotte undetectable for 20 seconds. And given that while Victor is being controlled, Charlotte has no TR or red stain anyway, you're spending a lot more time without a terror radius or red stain than you might expect. Seriously, no matter how good you think Silencing Cloth is on paper, it is better than that. If you can hide Charlotte out of line of sight of the survivors while you're controlling Victor, they'll have no idea where you'll be coming from or how close you are, meaning you can get so many free hits or even grabs on survivors who aren't paying attention, especially if you look away slightly to play around Spine Chill and leverage line of sight blockers to conceal your presence for as long as you can. I think a generous estimate for how much time you'll spend with a terror radius in your average Silencing Cloth game is about 30% of your total game time, which is actually better stealth than some of the dedicated stealth killers. And usually all Charlotte needs is a single free hit before letting Victor loose for the down. Silencing Cloth is an unbelievably scary add-on, and I think it's their best in an average lobby, so it goes right there at the top of the staple tier on the Vicious Furnishings diagram. The only add-on that I think competes with it is one that's rather more situational, but has won me more games by itself than any other single add-on in Dead by Daylight on any killer ever. Spinning Top is something you only bring to lobbies that have multiple medkits, a key, or other items you might be worried about, like, say, a map if you're bringing a hex build, for example. Spinning Top causes any survivors hit by Victor's pounce attack to drop any item they are holding. And unlike Baby Teeth and other add-ons like it, this applies instantly on hit, whether Victor injures them, or downs them, or whatever. It's Franklin's for Victor that doesn't eat the item charges, but the potential that has is off the scale. Unlike Franklin's, Victor can disrupt people healing with items half map away from Charlotte, and interestingly, survivors incapacitated by Victor cannot pick items up, meaning that if you attack somebody who's holding an item with Victor, and he attaches to them so they drop it, the survivor has a pretty bad choice in front of them. Either they stay where Victor hit them until they remove him and can pick up their item again, meaning you can just walk over there with Charlotte and down them while they're oblivious, or they had to leave their item behind. And survivors are little gremlins full of hubris who will pick up their items the first chance they get, meaning they will likely waste time going back to get it and potentially run right back into you. This can also create a bit of a pickle for survivors when you down somebody with an item, since what you'll usually do is leave Victor near the down and pick up the survivor with Charlotte, which will coincidentally leave Victor directly on top of the item. Any other survivor who tries to steal their friend's precious rainbow map or purple medkit will have to contend with Victor before they can do so. And if it's a medkit, then the survivor who came to get it is likely to be injured, meaning that's a free down for you. And that's if they even know where to look for the item in the first place. Unlike Franklin's, survivors don't play against Spinning Top enough to know how good it is or even that it exists. So a survivor might not notice they're missing their item until it's already too late, until they need it, or might struggle to remember where Victor hit them that made them drop it. That panic of, oh god, where's my medkit? And scrabbling around hit locations to find it can waste even more time or get you free hits, and at worst case scenario, robs them completely of their item, depriving them of a significant advantage. This is especially relevant given how common keys are starting to be and how powerful medkits are against the twins. Spinning Top is the best way to turn the tables on survivors who rely on these items, and can make games you would otherwise lose into roaring successes as survivors struggle to track their items down and keep them long enough to make use out of them. For that reason, it goes firmly in the staple tier. Lower than Silencing Cloth because of its dependency on certain situations, but higher than Toy Sword and all their other add-ons. That only leaves Iridescent Pendant, Cat Figurine, and Victor's Soldier as add-ons to discuss. And I would like to talk about Cat Figurine first. It's crap. It's not quite unusable, simply because if you want to practice long-range precision pounces, it works very well, especially if you want to use it with Cat's Eye. But at close range, the light bead will take up about half your screen. The twins are one of 4 killers, alongside Nurse, Blight and Doctor, who have visual indicator training wheel add-ons to make it easier to land your attacks. But the twins one is the only one that I'd argue can be genuinely detrimental, since half the time the light bead obscures your field of view. But if you want to learn to land precise pounces, it can certainly be of some value to you. So it just manages to escape the actually unusable add-ons. Just. So that leaves us with the last add-on combination the twins have to work with: Victor's Soldier and Iridescent Pendant. Both of them trigger when a survivor kicks Victor while he's idle. Victor's Soldier reveals the culprit's aura for 6 seconds. An Iridescent Pendant exposes that survivor for 30 seconds. Running those two is... I'm not going to use the word effective, because you probably won't get value out of the pendant more than once if the survivors are in a Swift with voice comms. But together, you can assemble a build of my own creation that I will call Fishing Twins. Here's what you need to play Fishing Twins: the aforementioned add-ons, Insidious, Dragon's Grip, Trail of Torment, and another perk of your choice, on probably an indoor map like Hawkins. Step 1. Leave Victor next to something that the survivors will want to go near, like a generator, a lit hex, or a hook if you want to be an evil bastard. Or click a generator with Dragon's Grip and Trail of Torment so it lights up in yellow. Step 2. Insidious with Charlotte around the corner, out of line of sight of Victor or the generator. Step 3. Wait for one of those sublime little fishies to take the bait. As soon as a survivor kicks Victor or touches your marked generator, you spring into action. They're exposed, you see their aura, and they're about 2 feet away from you. So they go down. Hard. And it's really, really funny. Is it going to win you many games? Absolutely not. You will very likely lose. But is it going to be funny? Definitely. Even if it only works once in a game, Fishing Twins is an absolute blast to play, and I recommend you all try it at least once. For that reason alone, those 2 add-ons go firmly in the quite good tier, because while they might not win games, Fishing Twins is just too fun. And Behaviour just made an aquatic twin skin, so there's never been a better reason to put on a Hawkins Lab ID, grind for Insidious, and go fishing. So that more or less covers the Twins add-ons and everything I had to say about them. The full tier list is here. In terms of changes I'd like to see, I think reworks to Baby Teeth, Sewer Sludge, Rusted Needle, and maybe Weighty Rattle are in order. Perhaps Baby Teeth could cause Victor's incapacitated effect to linger after he detaches from somebody. Maybe Sewer Sludge could reveal the aura of anyone who removes Victor. Maybe Rusted Needle could reveal the aura of generators that are being worked on while Victor's attached, so Charlotte can go and split pressure. Maybe Weighty Rattle could let him hold lockers shut longer. These and the change to Toy Sword to make part of it base kit, and change Toy Sword's effect to something else, are what I would suggest for changes to the Twins add-ons. But I'll be honest, I don't think those are ever going to happen. I think Behaviour wants to forget about the Twins, and that hurts to say because they're a wonderful killer. They're not perfect, no killer truly is, but all they need are a series of relatively minor adjustments to make them a much fairer killer to play and play against. Feel-good changes for both sides that appropriately reward fair play while reducing the means Twins players have to use their power to ruin a survivor's game. I talked about it at the end of the last video too, but they don't need a full rework like some people have been suggesting. They just need some tweaks to smoothen them out and make them less clunky and less abusable. But the fact that Behaviour has made no indication that such changes are to be made do not fill me with much hope. So that brings us to the conclusion of episode 2 of the Twins Guide. I'm sorry that this wasn't a particularly mechanics intensive episode, but episode 3 that is already in the pipeline will more than make up for it. That episode will be covering advanced strategies and duo looping, so do be ready for that. Work on it has already started, but it won't be the next thing I'm making. Because in case you weren't aware, Tome 8 Deliverance is coming out on the 28th of July, which will be featuring lore stories for Jake Park and Clown as well as the Observer. And I'm going to start this off with a video for the Clown. I know this has been a topic in immense demand since my April Fool's Day video where I made a spoof Clown video, but now the time has come. A serious Clown video will be the next thing I'm making, and that should be coming out probably about a week or so after the new tome goes live and we can see all the new lore. Please be sure to subscribe. You can also check the Discord link in the description to join my Discord server, the Story Circle. You can also find me on Twitch, where we're actually back to streaming now, so thank you all for the confidence that we do that. You can also find my Patreon and Ko-fi links if you're interested in supporting the channel and think my content deserves your money. Thank you to my existing All-Star patrons, all 4 of you, Cole Bagel, David Brazoza, Wyatt Barnett, and the new one. Thank you so much to the patrons who already supported this channel and continue to do so. Cole Bagel, David Brazoza, Wyatt Barnett, and Dr. Guy51. You are absolute champions and mean more to me than I can say. Alternatively, if you're interested in sending a bit of cash my way but want something material for it, you can check out this very cute t-shirt design. The Peekaboo Victor T, designed by Miljami and available on my Teespring. A link to that is also down below, so do take a look at that. And once again, thank you to all of you who continue to watch these videos and let the channel grow. Thanks to this growth I've been able to justify new purchases to make my videos better and better, like the camera I'm using right now, and the green screen I bought for the first episode. And hopefully we can just continue to get better and better. I'm so excited about what's coming, and I'm sure when it gets here, you'll see why. Once again, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ta for now.